Subscribe to my channel before we begin. It started off like a joke. At least that's how she labeled it. We were getting ready to go to a friend's anniversary dinner, and she stood in front of the mirror, slipping into a black dress that could turn every head in the room. I told her she looked incredible. She brushed it off with a casual laugh like she always did lately. Careful, she smirked while putting on her earrings. Maybe I'll find 2 men half your age tonight. She said it playfully, but those words landed like a silent slap. I still smiled. The kind of forced smile men learn to where once arguments become pointless dead ends. Maybe you will, I said while tightening my tie. Just make sure they can afford the dinner bill. She rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic. We used to joke and laugh like this. But recently every joke felt like a test. Like she wanted to see how far she could go before she finally cracked me. For months she'd been different. Always glued to her phone. Always somewhere else mentally. I wasn't the jealous type. But when the person you love stops seeing you the way they used to, the pain hits like a slow bruise no one else notices. At dinner, she stole the spotlight. Laughing, touching arms, absorbing every ounce of attention in the room. I sat there half listening to conversations, half watching her perform. When her friend asked where she found so much energy lately, she winked and said, "Must be all the young blood around me these days." Everyone laughed. I didn't. I just finished my drink and made a decision right there. If she wanted to treat pride like a game, I'd show her what happens when a man stops needing approval. The next morning, I booked something special, a private weekend retreat. But not for us, just for me. I'd spent too many years proving that I could be the supportive husband, the patient one, the forgiving one. Now, I needed to remind myself who I was before her jokes became knives. When I told her I'd be gone that weekend, she looked annoyed. "Where are you even going?" I answered calmly, "Somewhere I don't have to be the punchline." She laughed again, but this time there was hesitation behind it. Her words from the mirror replayed again and again. "Maybe I'll find 2 men half your age tonight." She said it like it was all comedy. That night she went out with her work friends, a group I never trusted much. They drank too much, flirted too freely, and always returned way too late. But I just told her, "Have fun," and went back to reading my book. But something shifted inside me that night. Not because I believed she was serious, but because she could say something like that so casually. Those jokes don't disappear out of thin air. They come from distance, emotional disconnect, and seeing how far they can hurt you without consequences. When she closed the front door behind her, the silence in the house felt heavy. I sat there thinking about all the times I laughed off those comments. All the times she flirted with strangers at parties, and I shrugged it off. All the times she jabbed at me for aging, working too much, being boring. I realized I'd been shrinking inside my own marriage just to make room for her ego to grow. That night, I decided I was done being quiet about it. So I started planning not to hurt her, but to save myself. I called an old friend who owned a cabin 2 hours away, booked it for the weekend. Then I texted her, "Don't wait up tonight. I'll be gone before you return." No anger, no drama, just honesty. When she came home around 2 a.m., half drunk, half curious, the house was dark. My side of the bed was empty. Half my closet was cleared out. On the kitchen counter was a note. "You joked about finding 2 men half my age. I hope they make you laugh the way I used to." The next morning my phone didn't stop ringing. Messages, missed calls, voice notes, panic replacing her playful confidence. Maybe for the first time she realized love is not something you mock. You either respect it or you lose it. 3 days later she showed up at the cabin. She looked nothing like the bold woman who left for that girl's night. Her eyes were swollen, her hair a mess. She just stood there holding the note like it was a piece of me she didn't know how to let go of. "I didn't mean it," she whispered. "It was just a joke." I looked at her and smiled softly, not out of spite, but clarity. "That's the issue," I said. "You stopped meaning the things that mattered and started joking about the things that did." She sat across from me and told me how empty that night felt, how the flirting didn't make her feel anything real, how she realized halfway through that none of it made her feel alive, just hollow. And when she came home to see my things missing, it felt like she couldn't breathe. She waited for me to call, to argue, to return, but I didn't. And that silence, she said, hit her harder than any fight. For the first time in years, I let her speak. And for the first time in years, she actually listened. I told her how every joke chipped away at me bit by bit, how every time she compared me to younger men, it reminded me she stopped seeing value in who I already was. She cried, quiet tears of realization. I thought you'd never leave, she whispered. I thought no matter what I said, you'd always stay. I stood up, set my empty mug on the railing, and said, that's exactly why I had to. As I walked past her, she reached for my hand. But I didn't stop. I wasn't leaving because of anger anymore. I was leaving because I finally realized my peace mattered too. As I drove down that long gravel road, her reflection faded in the rearview mirror until it disappeared completely, like the echo of a joke that was never funny to begin with,